Welcome, dear listeners, to the Fright or Flight podcast. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you like scary movies because we're still doing it. And today we're going to be doing Scream 5.
Yeah, it's not listed as Scream 5. It's just Scream.
It's just called Scream, but it came out in 2022. I'm Frankie Fiesta, the Flight of the podcast.
And I'm Jumpscare Jer, or Jer, the Fright of the podcast.
This is our first video.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on. I'm scared. I'm frightened. How do you feel about this?
A little nervous. I hate seeing myself, so we're doing it.
Some of the viewers, is the first time seeing us, besides the people that know us.
Yeah.
They've heard our voices. Now they're seeing our faces. Do you think they're surprised?
Putting a face to the name. Yeah, that's always, it's like we're unmasking ourselves.
Yeah, it's like a face reveal.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a little scared because, what if they thought we looked different? Like we were both.
Well, to be fair, during the pandemic, I did that all the time. I would see people with face masks and I would make up the rest of their face in my mind. And when they would pull their mask down, I was like, you look nothing like I imagined.
I don't know you. You're somebody else.
But not in a bad way.
Like you
not
anymore.
Not in a bad way. It was just strange because if your reality was just looking at someone's eyes, and then you don't know what their mouth or their nose looks like.
Changes.
Everything changes when they pull down that mask, unmask themselves.
Completely different personality.
Then you see what they look like, and it's like, well,
judge them for who they really are.
No.
Well, I'm glad you guys are joining us today because we're talking about a movie that, Jeralyn, you've made it out to be a very controversial film. You made it out to be like, this is the worst movie ever created, and if you could ever get a chance to meet the director, you would try to poison them. Even.
Whoa, threats! I had never said anything of the nature.
What did you say?
I didn't. It doesn't do it for me. It's not a terrible film.
Okay.
But it doesn't do it for me.
Well, I thought it was all right.
It's all right.
I like a lot of the things that it does.
It does pay homage to the original, which is wonderful, but it almost does too much.
I could see that. I think, it definitely tries hard. It tries really hard. I think the cinematography in this film is amazing. Like you could tell, this is the first one that isn't directed by Wes Craven. I think.
R.I.P. Wes Craven. At this point, he is passed away. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think you can kind of tell that it's a different director. Mm-hmm. Because like I said, the cinematography is better. I think the dialogue is better.
Oh yeah, by a landslide.
But I think that's kind of like a what's it called?
Double-edged sword.
Double-edged sword, because while I think a lot of qualities are better, I feel like we lost a lot of the fun.
We did lose a lot of the fun.
A lot of the camp that Wes Craven provided.
Yes,
gone.
Completely agree. And not to mention, they're really just kind of bringing it back, and it's still a little bit meta on the meta side, so they still have that meta ability in the movie, and where they refer to the other ones in the universe, they still bring that meta into it, but it's not quite where it used to be. And while they're paying homage to the original films, it's still not quite, I don't know, words.
Okay, I could see where you're coming from. Look, it's definitely, it's different more than anything. I think this one with the lineup is just, like I said, it's the most out there. Yeah. I think they tried really hard. They really did, but it just some of the heart is gone, I feel like, from the movie. But that being said, I think I still enjoyed it. We'll see where it ends up ranking.
Yeah.
By the end of the whole thing.
I think so too. We'll see where it goes. I think it's a little bit lower on my list, so we'll see. But yeah, I also noticed in the beginning, so we have this opening scene with Tara. Tara Carpenter is her name, which I think maybe the Carpenter last name is maybe a nice little nod to John Carpenter.
I can only imagine, right?
Yeah, it's got to be, because they have horror movie references planted throughout the entire franchise, which is really fun. But they do the same iconic beginning with, as the first Scream in 1996.
I think it's really cool. I love that we get to see Tara played by Jenna Ortega.
Love Jenna Ortega.
Love Jenna Ortega. She's fantastic. Love
amazing.
The representation. This cast is a lot more diverse.
It is.
Than usual, which I really appreciate. I think it's
in
really cool.
many ways too, because we have our first LGBTQ plus character as well. At least the first out one. The rest. Some people have theories about Stu Macher and Billy Loomis's relationship.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
But this is the first time where it's noted. It's kind of.
I mean, there's a whole scene. Yeah,
there's a whole scene. So yeah.
I think Jenna Ortega gives a great performance. Yeah. I think she's kind of on her way to being like a scream queen kind of person. Like with this,
I would absolutely classify her as a scream queen.
Okay, that's perfect because I really like her. She's fantastic, and I think she gives a really good performance in this. They do something cool. I think I remember seeing the trailer for this movie, and they showed part of the scene where Jenna Ortega has like I don't know what it is, like an Alexa lock system.
It's like on her phone, which is so weird. I've never seen anything like that.
I mean, the security, it
looks
probably
cool. Exists. They do, It does look cool.
And so, like, she's able to like lock her door back off and on, but Ghostface keeps on unlocking it, and she, stressing her out. But in the trailer, it looked so much cooler.
It did, and whenever we got to this scene in the movie, I kind of wrote down that it was funny. Like, I was kind of like laughing about it. Because it was almost like, it feels like it's poking fun at at this big generation of teens where we're so reliant on our cell phones.
Right.
And it feels like she, instead of dropping the phone and running whenever this whole thing is like unlocking and locking.
Right.
Drop it and run. She just sits there and freaks out and screams while it's happening. And I'm like, girl, put your phone down.
I'm with you. There's even like a part where like she's about to dial 911 or somebody else, but she gets like a DM and she just ignores that and goes back to, doing this whole thing with Ghostface. Something that did surprise me is that she like gets hurt pretty bad. She gets a knife through her hand. Yeah,
that was brutal.
She gets stabbed in the abdomen, right?
Several times, yes.
And then Ghostface breaks her ankle. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot going on to poor Tara.
Poor Tara. First and foremost, this is one of the first times in an opening sequence where the character does not die.
I'm shook. I'm so surprised.
Right.
Because, especially in this instance, because usually you don't see all that going on. Like, he didn't. Usually a stab from Ghostface is insta-kill.
Yeah.
Like, one stab, that's all you got. Sorry, bye. There's a few exceptions, like our lovely Dewey. But Tara gets one of the most brutal deaths, like as far as like how many times she's hurt, but she survives the whole ordeal. That had me surprised.
Yeah, I really liked it because then it establishes this character, and then obviously without that that reason to bring her home, which we find out later that was kind of the reason that our killers revealed later that they wanted to bring home Tara's sister, Sam.
Right, Sam. Now, what did you think of Sam?
I like her character. I don't like this story that they have made up, they have orchestrated with her, because it just feels not complete.
Do they ever mention where she works?
It looks like it's like a bowling alley, a movie store, skating rink, something like that. Yeah. Something where those like little uniforms are.
And she works there with her boyfriend.
Richie, yeah.
Richie. And I think Richie is played by an actor I'm aware of, Jack Quaid.
Yeah. His dad is Dennis Quaid. We love it.
I know his name mostly from The Boys, a show I've never seen because I'm scared of blood. And like, I don't know if I could handle that show.
Well,
I heard it's a good show.
If you can handle this, you can handle that now.
That looks a little too deep for me, a little too serious.
Okay.
But I do like his performance in this movie, as well as Sam. I think Sam does a good job.
Yeah.
They give her. So you're telling me you don't like her backstory?
No, I don't. In fact, I hate it.
I thought it was one of the more fascinating parts of the film.
I mean, rewatching it, it wasn't as bad as I remembered, but it's still like, it just feels like they couldn't put the story together. Like, I don't know. It just feels like a rush job. It doesn't feel like they really put a lot of thought or like heart into it. Like you said, it's really missing that heart into it because it was not. I wasn't as invested. I was like, I could give a fuck less that she's Billy Loomis's daughter.
What did you think of all the other teenagers?
Loved them.
You like them?
Love them. They were very fun.
So do you remember who we get all together?
Yeah. So we have Liv. I don't remember her last name, but we have Mindy and Chad Meeks. I think their last name is like Meeks-Martin or something like that.
Which surprised me.
Yeah. And then let's see. We get Amber. I immediately hate her. And then Tara, I think. And Wes, which I think is a fun, Wes Hicks, who is Sheriff Hicks' son. I think that's a nice nod to Wes Craven, possibly.
Yeah, it was, and I recognize the actor.
Yeah.
He's on 13 Reasons Why.
Yeah, and he's also in both of the Goosebumps like remake adaptations with Jack Black. Really good films.
He's in a band. And
yes, I love that band.
Wallows.
Yeah.
and I've seen them live. I didn't go to see them. I went to see the band that was headlining, but they put on a good show. The only awkward part for me was that most of their fans were teenage girls.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I'm like this big brown man, and so like I'm trying to be there in the pit, but all the pit is just all little girls.
Very
but
weird.
I like him in this movie. He kind of has like this white hair.
Yeah.
Reminds me of like Quicksilver. I feel like he could have played Quicksilver in the MCU.
Yeah.
All the other teens, I early on I didn't have a connection to them at all, but I think over the course of the movie I enjoyed them.
Yeah. It doesn't really, like, in the opening sequences with all of the friends, it's not really, I don't know, it doesn't really pull on your heartstrings, so I'm not like as connected to them.
The first Scream movie did a better job at that. I can't consolidate whatever that thing is into like one thought, but you definitely felt a little more attached to like the original crew than these teens. And we're kind of going back to that.
Yeah.
Like we haven't, the first movie is a high school, second movie is college, and then third movie they're adults. So we haven't really been into this like whole college thing.
Right.
With like the main cast in a minute. So I like it. Richie, is that his name? Richie? Sam's boyfriend?
Yeah, Richie.
Didn't we have a Richie in the last movie? Scream 4? We
I
got
think
Charlie and...
I think you might be right.
So we got another Richie.
That's kind of weird.
Was it Richie?
I think that's
Okay, so we got another Richie. This guy, he doesn't like horror movies. That's his thing, right? Or like he's scared. He's never seen Stab before.
Yeah.
And he wants to, he wants to be there for Sam, but he's very hands-on. He's worried about the whole scenario.
I think he does a pretty decent job of playing it off. I will admit. But I predicted the killers so early on when I watched it, and that was not fun for me.
Okay. So you're a person that likes to
I want to
keep you guessing.
Yeah, I want to be shocked whenever we get to the end. I want to be like, "Oh shit." And I did not get that. I did not get that experience this time.
I'm a dumb guy.
You were shook.
I was so shook, actually.
I was not.
I was so shook because I don't think we've ever spent this much time with a killer.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time. In fact, like one of the things that I read was that this was one of the first times that when the rules get explained later in the movie, both of the killers are in the room at the time. And that's never happened before in the previous films.
That's crazy because you spend so much time with Richie.
Yeah.
Like I guess last movie you spent a lot of time with Jill, but I think you spend more time with like Nev Campbell, Sydney, and Dewey, and Gail, and then Jill. But this one, like Richie is almost always with her boyfriend, Richie. Sam is almost always with her boyfriend, Richie. Yeah.
Yes. But I think that Jill's reveal was so shocking because she really was like playing it up like she's the victim. She's gotten attacked several times, which, I mean, Richie does get attacked. That's part of their plan to really throw you off course. But it just did not do it for me. I knew, I was like, oh, that can't. I really was battling.
You know? What sold it? What is like, oh, this is how I know.
Well, first of all, the friend was acting very strange. She was acting really like aloof, however you would say it. I don't know. She was not very, I don't know, supportive. And she just seemed very standoffish. And I just did not trust her from the beginning. And I don't know why. I don't really have any other good reasons. I just knew. I was like, she's got to be it.
I mean, you could tell kind of by just looking at her. She looks like a killer.
Yeah.
And the actress, I don't know who they are, but
Mikey Madison is her name.
She's good at it. She has like a crazy kind of face.
But so I was just bored. I was just bored with this reveal later on. I was just like, is it really the best you can do? Because like I really was going through and I was like, surely not. Surely it's not going to be that predictable, that obvious. And then it was, and I was like,
well, we'll see like at the end of this because we're going to rank all the killers as well with the movie. So we'll see where that leads us. But we get to go to the hospital and we find out that Tara's still good, which I'm completely surprised by because we don't know that she's still around until you see her again in her hospital bed. Yeah,
until Sam gets a call and they're like, hey, she's alive. And
do they tell her? I think they're just like, Sam, I think you need to come down here.
They tell her on the phone. Okay. They're like, she's alive, but she's been attacked.
Surprisingly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I cannot, like, like I said, usually it's an insta-kill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But all her friends are waiting there at the hospital and they all, Sam is there talking to her. I guess they go out to play pool afterwards for some reason. This happens a lot in this movie where, like, the characters, like, despite all this death, just keep on having a fun time.
Exactly. Exactly.
We find out that two of the characters are dating. I forgot their names. Chad?
Liv and Chad.
Chad and Liv are dating.
Liv is the one with the really pretty pink hair. I love her hair.
You like her hair. You just don't like her.
No, I don't mind her.
Who don't you like? You said you don't like somebody a lot.
Amber.
Amber is the best friend.
Amber's the best friend.
Okay.
I just, yeah. Words, it makes me upset.
Okay. Well, somebody's being a big creep to Amber. And like they start harassing her, and her boyfriend Chad is trying to defend her, gets him to go away, and then eventually you see him standing out by the building taking a leak on the building, and headlights flash.
Yep.
And it's a Ghostface. This would be the second time we're seeing Ghostface here. He didn't quite get his first kill, but he gets the second one on this douchebag.
Yeah, and his name is Vince. I don't know his last name, but he's apparently they reveal later that he's Leslie Mocker's son, which is Stu Mocker's sister, which we've never met before, which is really interesting.
So this is Stu Mocker's nephew.
Apparently so. So I guess that's the motive behind it, is to just go back there. During this scene, they also play Red Right Hand, the song that's throughout the franchise. And I think the first movie that did not play it was, I think, Scream 4 or Scream 3, one of the two. But I think it was Scream 4. That was the first one that didn't play it, but they brought it back in this movie. So I'm really glad that they brought that back, because I feel like it's a staple to the genre and to this franchise specifically. But yeah, such a weird like motive. Like, you're just gonna kill Stu Mockers. Like,
yeah, I didn't really understand that that's what the relationship here.
It wasn't made clear. That's the thing until later, and I'm like, this is another gripe. I'm like, storytelling gripe.
We go back to the hospital after that gentleman meets there, and it's just the three of them: Sam, Richie, and Tara hanging out. And Richie is watching Stab on his phone. Yeah. Which in my head I'm like, that's kind of insensitive, my guy.
Yeah, like incredibly.
But he's like, well, I gotta know the rules. I need to get up to date on you gotta be prepared. Right. And so that makes sense to me. Over the course of the film in general, Richie really
goes down a rabbit hole.
He really charms me. I really like Richie.
Really?
Yeah, because he's like the first person in the movie.
You would have got. He would have fooled you.
He did fool me. When the reveal came out, I was shook. Because I was like, because at first I did kind of suspect him. Yeah. But then eventually I was like, oh no, like this guy just doesn't want to deal with any of this. And that's like finally the voice of the audience always being like, psh, I just get out of town. I just get, I wouldn't deal with any of it. That's what he keeps doing throughout the whole movie. So I was definitely sold that he doesn't want any part of this. So the reveal definitely got me. We also find out here that Sam has another voice in her head. Mm-hmm. And that voice is of Billy Loomis.
She's Billy Loomis's daughter.
That's so crazy.
So then she tells Tara, and Tara's pissed. And I think it makes sense why she'd be pissed, but she's not really pissed that she's Billy Loomis's daughter. It's more like she's mad that she left town. But we later find out that Sam, the reason that she left was because she was afraid of hurting Tara in the long run because of her connection to Billy Loomis and her not wanting to be a serial killer.
Right. I think that the whole Billy Loomis is my dad thing, it works so good for me. Because that is, in general, to get to see my man Skeet, what's his name?
Skeet Ulrich or something like that. Skeet Ulrich. Beautiful man.
And the way he appears, he's in the mirror and he's all bloodied up and has this, signature white t-shirt on. I think that plot device is so cool. I do think that sometimes they don't use it as well as they could. Yeah, I agree. There's a part later in specific that I'm going to bring up that makes no sense to me. I don't really know what the point is. But in general, I think it's cool. I'm glad we get to see Skeet, Billy Loomis, back in this.
I think it's okay. So it's a cool concept, right?
Yeah,
cool I think it's fucking dumb. I think it's so fucking dumb because, well, first of all, during this time, I guess it makes sense. He's a high schooler. He wasn't getting any from Sydney at this point. He probably was fucking around. That makes sense because he's a horny teenager. All Got it. And he's also impulsive as a serial killer. He's a serial killer. He's killed multiple people at this point. So impulsivity is kind of part of the serial killer brand. They don't really they have really loose inhibitions and stuff. They're not very careful. except for with framing. So like, oh, you're gonna be careful with framing, but you're not gonna be careful with your dick.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. But so I guess in that context it makes sense, but it's just, I don't know. It's such a gripe. I just don't like what they did here.
I wonder why you don't like.
Well, also, Ski looked like he looked old. They didn't do anything. They didn't really. They tried, but it failed for me. I was like, you can see his wrinkles, my guy.
Oh, come on.
He looks.
When we're watching a movie, it's all, you gotta suspend your belief.
You're right. You have to suspend your belief
Yeah.
of reality, but. Fuck that. You have technology, my guy. You see what they do with some of these, like, I don't know. I felt like they could have done something better,
I don't have a big problem with it. I've never been a stickler for like visuals in general.
I'm not a stickler because I'm not the one doing it. However, I just think that it wasn't used to the advantage, like you said. Okay. And two, it could have been done. It could have been executed better or something. Okay. I don't know.
Well, like you said, Sam and Tara have like a heart-to-heart where Sam like tells the truth.
Yeah.
And, Tara is upset because she feels like she was abandoned.
Yeah.
And I completely get both sides of this. This is just a situation that arises. People are individuals and they all have their own feelings. And I don't think Sam was in the wrong with like how she felt and what she did.
I agree.
But Tara is completely validated by feeling like, oh, what about me? Like, you're just telling me this now. Mm-hmm. You're only thinking about yourself, really. Yeah. So I really like that. In general, I like both their characters and both of their dynamics. Like I said, I think it's cool that we're dealing with a family structure again, and I think it's also really interesting that we haven't seen Sydney at all.
We haven't at this point.
At this point, I didn't know if there was going to be any returning cast.
What's really funny to me is during this, I'm thinking like they're talking about the parents. Where the fuck are the parents again? I cannot get over the fact that like your daughter's in the hospital. Where are the parents? Apparently
there's never any parents.
The mom is on a conference conveniently during this. Like,
yeah, I'm convinced that like all parents in Owensboro? What's the name?
Woodsboro.
In Woodsboro, like go to like a spaceship when they when the kid enter high school, because they're never around.
Never around ever.
Also, it's supposed to be a small town, and in every movie, the police takes like an hour to 2 hours to get to their house.
It's supposed to be small, like. What are you doing?
Well, I guess it's not that small after all.
Yeah, I guess it's not. But then she gets attacked. She goes to the break room after that whole altercation with her sister, where her sister tells her to get out. She goes to the break room. She sees Billy Loomis, and that's when it's kind of revealed. And then she's like, she takes her meds. And
well, this is probably the best part of the movie for me. The quality of everything is so nice. Like something that this movie does do, like I said earlier, like with the cinematography, the filmmaking is on a higher level. Just like you've never seen like a scene with Dewey this serious. Yes. Like there's so much emotion, intensity, and that's all very explicit.
And that's honestly the whole point. This whole movie holds so much emotional weight that I didn't think I'd be capable of feeling. But then like rewatching the entire series, you do get attached to these characters.
Yeah. Dewey is a broken man.
Poor guy. He's living in a trailer again.
He's living in a trailer park. Like it doesn't look like he's got everything super in order. His beard is very stubby. Like he's got a bunch of dishes in the sink.
Got a lot of alcohol around him.
Yeah.
At this point, like obviously the only thing we can assume is that Gail has left him. It's what we're thinking.
Yeah, and he's watching her on the TV, which makes it even sadder.
Which makes it even more like, oh, she left him. That's what we're thinking. But later it's revealed that that's not the case. And that whole scene really killed me. But
Dewey lays it out pretty like forward, like directly as soon as they come over, where he because he's been through all this a million times, and they're asking him for advice. He doesn't want any part of it, and he's like, okay, fine, like who's he? My boyfriend. And immediately he's like, it's probably him.
Yes,
off the bat.
Why does no one listen to Dewey? He's been through this shit. He's seen some shit.
You're gonna say that, Jeralyn? But cut back to the last podcast where you were trash talking Dewey up and down about being
He is doofus Dewey, but now he has many years of experience. This is 10 years later.
Yeah. Well, I'm really happy to see Dewey again, and like he gets on the phone and he's talking to somebody else, and because he has to alert Gail and Sydney of this new news.
This scene was so serious, but also so fucking funny. It killed me because the way that he talks to Gail, he just texts her. And he's like, Ghostface is back. Don't come here. hope you're doing well, smiley face. And he's like, I shouldn't have sent the smiley face.
That's very Dewey. So they kept the nature, and I appreciate that. Yeah,
because he's a very soft guy and he cares about people. So
yeah, we get to see Sydney again.
Sure do.
He calls her on the phone. She's on a jog with her children. Now, Jeralyn, what do you think about this? Should joggers go out and with their children and run with them?
I don't care.
You don't care?
As long as you're safe. What does it matter?
I agree.
It doesn't bother me. Mm-hmm. I just don't like jogging.
You don't like jogging?
For myself, okay. No.
But you like the babies?
Whatever you want to do. I mean, it's up to you in this world. Yeah. Except for don't hurt babies.
You're the master of your own destiny.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But I was very like elated whenever I saw her this way because she's thriving. She's out somewhere safe. She's comfortable being out. It's a difference between
you're right. Yeah,
between Scream 3 and I think it was Scream 3. Scream 3, she was like trapped in her own house and trapped in her own like prison that she's kind of created for herself based on her trauma. And here we are in Scream 5. It's not listed as Scream 5, but whatever. We're just going to call it Scream 5 because that's what it is. It's the 5th movie in this franchise. And she is running with her babies. And during this scene, Dewey mentions Mark. And
who the hell is Mark?
Mark Kincaid from Scream 3. The cop is who she apparently married. The detective.
And that's McDreamy.
That's McDreamy. However, they don't show him. He was rumored to be back for Scream 4, but at the time he was filming a Transformers movie.
Was it good?
I didn't watch it. It was like the 3rd Transformer movie.
So it probably wasn't good.
It's probably fine, I guess. I don't know.
But he's also on Grey's Anatomy.
Yes, he is.
And they call him McDreamy. Why do they call him McDreamy, Jeralyn?
Because he's dreamy. He's beautiful.
Now, that's being said, he did not do it for me. With I call him McDreamy. I look at this guy. And I'm like, this guy looks like Ben Schwartz. This guy
no, he doesn't. That's disrespectful.
To who? You're being disrespectful right now to Ben Schwartz.
You're being disrespectful to Patrick Dempsey. Patrick Dempsey, if you have seen him in Grey's Anatomy, he's very charming. But he had the charm on with, Sydney in Scream 3. They laid it on thick. And they both
was creepy.
No, I didn't think he was creepy at all. I thought it was endearing. They both bonded over trauma.
Why'd he get all up in her face?
He was trying to seduce her, man. I don't know.
I don't know.
It would have worked. It would have worked for me.
Okay, if you say so. I also think the client police victim relationship there is kind of weird. I feel like
there are ethical imbalance. There are absolutely ethical issues there, but I mean, the heart wants what it wants.
Well, she's with McDreamy now. Good for her.
Yeah.
A lot of people want this.
They got kids together. That's so exciting.
At least two of them.
She has kids. Like girls, that's what she said.
I wonder what she named them.
I also wonder that too. Yeah. I guess we'll never know because Sydney is not in the 6th one. At least it's been said. So we won't know if there's more of a development in her story.
We're going to have a small discussion about this right now, Jeralyn.
Okay.
Sidney Prescott is my least favorite main character in this
Are you
movie.
For real?
And yes, because in most of these, I love Neve Campbell and I love her performance in these films. I think these movies would not be what they are without her. That being said, Gail and Dewey are the heart of these movies. That is what I'm here for. Most of the time, Sidney Prescott. So I'm not talking about Neve Campbell's performance. I'm talking about like her character and like her writing and her motivation is a wet blanket. It's a soggy piece of toast. Like she's got nothing going on, and all you ever see is like her make that squinty face.
First of all, don't you dare shit on Sidney fucking Prescott. I do agree. I
agree though.
No, I agree that Gail and Dewey are the heart. Let's call them Gooey for their ship name.
I like that.
Gooey. Because it's very gooey. It is. Not in like a sick way, you perverts. Don't think that.
So as far as Sydney not being in the next one, I'm not.
You're not upset by it?
I'm not at all. No,
I am because she's been in every single one.
That's another thing. Why is it always the same people each one?
I don't know. Why did they bring back Jamie Lee Curtis after all of these years? They brought her back for several installments in the Halloween series. She was Laurie Strode.
Yeah.
If that is Sidney Prescott, the girl that, this whole thing started because of, I think that she should be in the movie.
That being said, something I do like about this movie, Scream 5, is that we're more focused around Sam.
Yes.
As opposed to Sydney.
We have shifted. It's almost like the passing the torch, like they mentioned later in the movie almost.
And this is all gathered around this idea of what they don't call it a reboot. They call it a
requel.
A requel.
I made note of that because I was like, I like this. This is absolutely what they do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They nailed it on the head.
Yeah.
I mean, now more than ever in 2023, the year of our Lord, everything is like a remake.
Yeah.
But they're right. They always bring back the main characters too. Like we mentioned that 90s show in the past. Yeah. They do it in that 90s show. Yeah. Where you have legacy characters and then a whole bunch of new characters.
Exactly.
To make everybody happy.
Yeah.
And so like, I've never heard that term before, but they nailed it on the head. I think what they were talking about.
They said another word related to it as well, but it's requel, reboot, sequel is what what it's called essentially. But yeah, like this is what they do, and I like Sam, I do, but I mean, there are some similarities between her and Sydney as well. So I don't think it's a bad thing to say that they're passing it to her now.
I also think she's a far more interesting character than Sydney.
She's way more dynamic for sure. I love Nev Campbell. Love her.
But Sydney doesn't have much going on at all.
I mean, she's kind of her arc is kind of past. She's living her life.
Time to get on.
So I actually do agree with you there because her it is unfortunate because it was due to salary issues. Like she wasn't.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. Yeah.
And she felt like she was worth more, which she should absolutely be getting paid.
If it ain't the right amount of money, then no shame. Don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
You do. You know your worth.
Exactly. But I do agree. I think like at this point, like she's married to Mark, the detective from Scream 3. They have kids together. She's living her life.
Let her live her happy life.
Yeah.
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 We get all this information about the requel through some context between what's her name, Mindy? Because we get to go Mindy's house, who's related to Chad.
Yeah, which is what they go to Dewey for. They're like, please come with us. And then he's like, no.
Yeah.
Which is so funny. So
they go to Mindy and Chad's house, they open the door to the house, and there's a big portrait of Randy on the wall.
Yes! Where they still bring back Randy for this. It's so fun.
Because it's Randy's sister's house. Mindy and Chad are Randy's niece and nephew, is that right?
Yeah, because their mom is Martha.
Right.
Martha Meeks was in Scream 3. She's the one who showed up to show Randy's final videotape that he made of
She's
the rules.
friends with the girl that looks like Anna Kendrick. Anne Hathaway.
Yeah, in Princess Diaries.
Yeah, in the Princess Diaries, right.
I thought you meant like IRL. I was like, I don't know. I don't know.
But she's friends with Anne Hathaway, and she has really thick eyebrows.
That's your note about Martha.
Yeah, right. What is that? Not her most defining thing?
I didn't notice.
You didn't notice her eyebrows?
No, I noticed her dimples. She's got dimples.
That's interesting, Jeralyn. I think that we're different people.
Yeah, we're different.
And that's
people.
why we're doing this podcast together, because we have two different perspectives.
Yeah.
Now, Mindy, is her name Mindy?
Mindy is the niece. Yeah.
Mindy.
Like Mindy. Mindy. Mindy.
Right,
like
yeah,
Wendy,
Mindy.
but Mindy.
Now, Mindy is also like a horror movie connoisseur.
Yes.
She mentions that like horror movies are like her way to like kind of respect, the passing of her uncle.
Yeah.
And I think that's really neat. Like sometimes it comes off as insensitive, but for the most part,
but I love it. I think it's really funny because Randy was kind of that way too.
You know what? Yeah, you're right. So she kind of holds up the spirit.
Yeah. Mindy and Randy is the new Mindy is the new Randy. Words.
Yeah. Oh, I guess that's probably why they had the DY continuation. But yeah, she's the one that ends up explaining all this stuff about a requel.
Yeah.
And this is probably the one where like I think she lays it out the best compared to all the other ones where like I understood the whole time, like, and maybe that might be a testament to like my age. Like requels are more recent. Yeah. And like the rules they laid out in Scream 1 were about horror movies in the 80s. Yeah. So it's like I'm more familiar with.
But this one also makes a lot of sense because this one is kind of very meta in the same way that she's talking about the requels, because this is exactly what they're doing. It's that's why it's not called Scream 5, it's called Scream. Right. And then in parentheses 2022. But that's why they do that, because they reference the first one a lot. They still bring back the legacy characters is what they call them. And they also bring new characters in here. And they also like take and pay homage to the original by like they kind of replicate a few of the scenes. One of them being the opening scene with Jenna Ortega as she's playing with the knife, or like when she's making herself dinner, she's on the phone. Which, by the way, why do we still have landlines? And 2022, 2023.
She did use a landline.
She did use a landline. That was really strange.
And you don't have one.
I don't have one. Like I said, I've only had one when I was younger. But yeah, I thought that was really strange. But yeah, like they pay homage.
Yeah, and one of the legacy characters that we get to meet in the next scene is Miss Hicks, Miss Judy Hicks, which is a character I enjoyed thoroughly.
She's very passionate, but she's also kind of a lot. But it also makes sense.
Do you remember that scene where from Scream 4 where she's just lurking in the shadow of a hallway?
Yes.
That was so spooky, and that's why I like her.
I don't know, yeah. You just don't really know her energy.
Yeah, and now she's a mom.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming, because I wrote this down in my brain, I was like, the math ain't mathin' for me, because she acted like she wasn't a mom in Scream 4. I mean, maybe she was recently divorced.
Oh, about the age of her son.
Yeah, because like if he's like 17, let's just say he's 17 for all purposes or something. Like 11 years ago, he would have been 6.
So you're telling me, Jeralyn, that you're saying, well, she couldn't have had a child.
No,
she's hitting on Dewey.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it wasn't made clear, like the storyline, like we never knew she had a kid kind of thing.
It's definitely a retcon. Like when they were reading Scream 4, they weren't like, she has a kid.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure later they were like, oh, whatever, like we'll just throw a kid in there and say it's hers. But I mean, I guess it would make whatever. I don't know. I just think it's funny because sometimes those little plot holes where I'm like, what?
She's also the sheriff now.
She's the sheriff. No more Deputy Hicks. She is Sheriff Hicks.
Sheriff Hicks, yeah. And I think she'd be good at her job.
Yeah, she seems like she's good at it.
Because she's passionate about it. She wants to do a good job. She's going to go to the grocery store.
No, picking up takeout.
Oh, yeah, takeout.
Takeout sushi, which I was like, ooh, give me some of that, girl. I want some sushi.
You enjoy sushi?
Love sushi.
Really?
Yeah.
You like raw fish?
Yeah.
Sashimi?
Yeah.
Do you know how to say your own name in Japanese?
No.
Okay. Well, Judy, I don't know if she does or not, but she's going out to get the sushi and leaves her single, what's it called when you're a single child? Leaves her single child at home.
Single child? Why do you say it like that? Her only child?
Only child, is that the word?
I guess. It's not.
Well, I think it's fascinating because she's overprotective.
Yeah.
He has like tasers out the wazoo.
And Wes says that his friends make fun of him for it.
And he's definitely like only child vibes. Like
yeah.
Like his mom just, he's so precious. And Ghostface calls her while she's going out to take her sashimi for dinner. And he's like, your baby boy, he ain't going to see tomorrow, babe. And she starts, speeding back home to go save her little son.
Her little son.
Her little baby boy.
Her little baby boy. Yeah.
And he's taking a shower. So we're a little suspect of what's going to go on. But we get surprised because he's not going after Wes, her son.
Yeah.
He's out in the bush waiting for her to jump in to get in the door. Stabs her.
That was so brutal. Oh my God.
Dude,
that's such a brutal death.
Broad daylight too.
I wrote that down.
What
broad
are her neighbors
daylight.
doing?
Who wouldn't see that?
Watching
Who wouldn't
TV?
hear that? I can't comprehend what the people in Woodsboro are doing. Are they like, I don't know, they have their TVs up too loud?
I have a question for you.
Are they even home?
Are you? What do you think about see something, say something? So like,
I'm nosy. I'm saying something.
You are.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you hear like your across the street neighbors, there's something going on over there. You're peeking through the window blinds.
Yes, absolutely. I am gonna peek at you. If I hear neighbors yelling or something, I'm like,
you ain't gonna mind your business.
No.
Right.
Because it might affect us. Like for example.
Or you could save somebody.
For example, yeah, exactly. For example, one night or one day, my boyfriend and I were at home in the daytime, and we were working, and we heard something, and I thought it sounded like it was raining too. So I thought it sounded like a firework, but I was like, who lit a firework when it's raining? It was not. It was a gunshot.
Ooh. It
was a gunshot, and it was in our apartment complex. Obviously, there are dangerous places all over the world. Doesn't really matter. Good, bad, whatever.
Anywhere.
It doesn't really classify it. Mm-hmm. But apparently, the gunshot went through one of the other apartments. Not here, but I think like nearby. But what didn't hit us or anything like that. So we were very fortunate. And unfortunately, the thing that happened, I think it was an altercation, and somebody died, which is really really sad. But I don't. That's really the only details we ever found out about it. But Yeah.
But nobody else would get that for Miss Judy Hicks here. Because everybody's minding their own business.
We were all nosy and stuff, and we were trying to find out. We were in our group chats at the apartment, like, what just happened kind of thing. Because it sounded like fireworks. It was like 5, maybe. I think it was 5 shots, and then 3. So I was like, that doesn't sound like fireworks. That sounds like a gunshot. And I was like, Patrick, what if it's a gunshot? And he was like, I don't think so. And I was like, okay. And then we found out it was. And I was like, you gaslighted me.
You're ridiculous. Wes meets his end. He was a good boy. He wasn't a killer.
Yeah. But apparently there was a reference to him being a good boy. And like, I know that people kind of mentioned like, oh, he had a crush on Tara and stuff like that. And Amber early in the film was texting Tara and said, "Is Wes still bugging you?"
Okay.
I wonder, like, maybe he wasn't as good as we thought. Maybe he has, I don't know. Maybe he's got that nice guy kind of mentality.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
I don't see that in him though. It's not very clear what happened. We don't really
know. And
we
also,
don't get to know him very well.
No, we don't really know.
He's just dead before we can.
He has a bleached hair, though.
He does have bleached hair. You keep bringing that up. You really like it, don't you?
I'm a fan, and I feel like this is one of your sins. Like you actually feel like this is one of the people that deserve to die.
No.
Because of his bleached hair.
No, I think it's fine. I like his hair.
You're okay with bleached hair?
Yeah, I used to. I mean, I had to bleach my hair to go gray.
And you do the Eminem Slim Shady look?
I didn't. But
would you?
Would I?
Yeah.
No.
$1 million.
No.
For $1 million, you wouldn't dye your hair blonde.
Yeah, but blonde. I can never leave my house for like a year, so it can grow back out.
Well, we finally get to meet Gail after this because Gail is coming to report the news on.
Yeah, during the scene on the way there, because Sam gets there before Gail does.
Okay.
Sam leaves the whole place, which the timeline does not add up to me because Sam leaves and then suddenly Wes is home, and then by the time that she leaves first, by the way. She leaves first, and then Wes suddenly is home, and then she gets there like after he's dead. The timeline does not add up.
Jeralyn, if we're talking about timelines here, Judy Hicks spent 5 minutes speeding her way back home, and then we got like what feels like a 10-minute scene for Ghostface to finally kill Wes, like while like stalking around the living room and stuff.
That was very funny.
The police would have been there by then, within that 15-minute time frame.
Did she call the police to report it?
She said, all alerts to my house.
Oh, yeah. Well,
so if we're talking about timelines, come on.
Timelines, yeah, absolutely. They're however, what was I going to say? It suddenly escapes me. Something about Miss Judy Hicks. Something about her.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, R.I.P.
Good character.
Great character.
I'm surprised to see her go. Sad to see her go.
Yeah, a little bit sad. It was
a little bit.
Poor we don't get to know her very well.
But she's fun.
She is fun.
Yeah.
And, she seems like a really good mom. She's very caring, and she's got a good relationship with her son. Her son cares about her enough to, like, lay out all of the dishes and stuff. Like, it's very cute.
I think, what did the note say on the fridge? She had a note for...
Lemon bars.
Aw, see, and you don't miss her?
I don't... I mean, I think she's a good character, but I wasn't, like, extremely sad like I was later in the film.
Jeralyn thought good riddance.
No, I didn't.
We got to see Gail come in, and Dewey's there, too. So they kind of have, like, a little reunion.
My heart.
Yeah. You get to see them back together.
Such a tender moment.
And they kind of... Gail, as soon as she sees Dewey, she's like, makes a beeline towards him and hits him.
Yeah.
Because she got to this information through text from him.
Yes. How dare he? Like, after all of their years together and everything, you're just going to send her a text so casually?
What do you think?
I would want him to call me.
Call you? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You call somebody with news like that. Like, they've all been through that. They've lived through it and seen it several times. It sounds
to me like somebody was broken up through text in their lifetime.
Who?
Maybe somebody who feels so adamantly about this phone call situation.
I feel like if it's important news, it needs to be said over the phone or in person.
Of course.
No, it doesn't matter.
I'm only kidding. I don't know
I have been broken up with over text, but I have also done it to somebody else
Jeralyn,
too.
You hypocrite.
That's different. That's not big news. That
not
was like young.
This. Yeah,
that was
like
that was like young.
This
that's
is
not
far
like,
more important.
That's not like your life is in danger.
Yeah.
Don't come here.
Yeah, you probably want to call for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not so casual. Hope you're doing well. Smiley face. Like, no.
But we do get to learn a little bit about their relationship. That they had a falling out because they tried to make it work. Because I guess Gail, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if I have this straight, but Gail had an offer in New York.
Yeah.
To do like this big time like journalism thing that she's, you know, wanted to do her whole life.
Yeah.
And Dewey just couldn't live that lifestyle.
He couldn't hack it. He went and barely tried is what it sounds like, according to Gail. And he left in the middle of the night.
Wow.
Like,
how do you have to feel for you know, to make that decision?
Yeah. I mean, he's such a hometown guy and like a small town hometown guy.
He is, yeah.
And I can respect that, but I also, like, you don't want to see anything outside of your hometown. Like,
some people don't. I think that's fine, though.
I mean,
I think the important part is more like how much you can compromise for your partner.
Right,
you know?
but he's also, like, so scared of change. Like, he wasn't willing to do anything for her, is what it felt like.
I see what you mean.
But she, you know...
She had to give up everything.
She gave up everything. Sacrificed 10 years of... Like, she was married to him for 10 years, at least in the 2011 film and Scream 4. At that point, they were married 10 years. She sacrificed everything to live there with him. Even gave up journalism for him.
Well, sometimes the honest truth is that some people just aren't compatible.
Yeah.
You might be head over heels for somebody, but if your lives aren't compatible with each other, if they interfere with each other's happiness, then that might just be the end of things.
And sometimes people want different things, and that's okay too, because you know you don't want to hold somebody back, but somebody doesn't want that.
Sometimes you just have to move on. And Gail looked like she moved on. Dewey, on the other hand, he was asked to resign from being a sheriff. Man.
He said, "I'm retired." Sorry. He said, "I'm retired, but they made me."
Yeah.
And I think it's only alluded to the fact that maybe he was like drinking on the job, not doing well.
Well, if I'm being honest.
Well, his apartment or his trailer.
He wasn't a very great sheriff in the first place.
Yeah.
So that's what I got. I got more like, oh, he just sucks at his job.
I didn't. I because when we see him in his trailer, there's a lot of like alcohol bottles, like liquor bottles and stuff like that. I would imagine that it had to do with like drinking. Like maybe he had a drinking problem. Maybe went off the rails a little bit.
That could be the case.
People, when they're sad, tend to make themselves even more sad by drinking.
You know, I don't drink. I've never drank. And it's something I'm going to do sometime soon. I'm past the age of drinking, but within that time, I still haven't done it.
Yeah.
But if I were to drink, if I were to be an alcoholic like my father, I do think I'd be the sad type. I wouldn't be like the party kind. I'd be like the drinking by yourself, you know, in sadness.
So what's funny is alcohol is a depressant. So no matter if you're happy or sad, you're happy drunk, sad drunk, you're going to be sad at some point.
Yeah.
Even if you're internally sad, it's still sadness. Like it's still going to make you feel down. It's meant to be a downer.
Yeah, I'm excited. But we go back to the hospital, and this is a weird scene to me.
You're living for the pain.
Same thing in Owensboro. There's
Woodsboro.
There's never their hospitals like there's no parents in Woodsboro. There's also no hospital staff in any of these movies. I don't know why. I don't know where they go.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're actually just NPCs waiting for Ghostface to slice their throat open. But Tara. Is Tara, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not good with names. But Tara's just sitting in her bed, you know.
Watching Dawson's Creek, by the way, which also, apparently Kevin Williamson, the original writer for Scream, also did that.
Did
that show.
A trailblazer.
Right?
He knew how to write teens, I guess.
Yeah.
But she's just watching Dawson's Creek and all the lights shut off throughout the entire hospital. One, how the heck can Ghostface have access to do this?
Well, I mean, obviously, when she rolls out in her chair, which that scene is so painful watching.
Ooh, trying to see her get in her chair?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like when she gets in the chair and she's like, by the way, she's like wincing in pain this whole time. I feel bad because I know she's in pain, but like, shut the fuck up.
Excuse me?
You know what I mean?
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Like, you know there's a killer on the loose. He tried to kill you already. and you are continually whimpering and like crying really loud. Like, shut up.
What are you gonna tell her? She was stabbed.
I don't know,
broken.
but like you're trying to not get got, but you're gonna get got, you know?
Yeah, with Jeralyn, the victim blamer over
I'm not
here.
a victim blamer. I just don't. In movies, it stresses me out when they're trying to hide and then they're like, like it's just so loud.
It's just a physical reaction, Jeralyn. You've had a panic attack. You know, sometimes you just react.
That's,
you know?
I mean, that's true. And in that situation, who knows what I would do?
Yeah,
but until then, yeah,
probably
for sure.
Oh, he's gonna kill me.
We could test that theory. I'm kidding.
Whoa,
I don't know.
No.
You know, like they have like these
Oh,
like work.
no.
They have these workout programs that are like fear based, and I think I would succeed at that.
What is wrong with
like
you?
You get chased by like people dressed up, and I feel like that would be. Fear's a great motivator sometimes.
So when did you find out that you like to hurt yourself?
I don't like to hurt myself.
That you're a masochist?
I'm not.
See, working out to begin with is already not a fun time.
It can be with friends.
I've never been to one of those horror. What are they called? Like
conventions?
Horror house? Like
haunted house.
A haunted house?
Horror house.
I wouldn't. It's just not my vibe. Why would I pay somebody to scare me?
Because it's fun.
But you've been to these.
Yeah.
And you have a good time.
I have a great time.
But you don't scream.
I do scream the entire time.
See?
I'm a big baby.
And she's the one talking about like, ooh, she's whimpering.
Well, it's different. That's self-induced and stuff. But I mean, then again, if you're faced with something real, I know for a fact I would probably be screaming my head off. You know what? Sorry, Jenna Ortega. I'm probably right there with you. I wouldn't shut up either. Whatever.
So
but
she finds the cop is dead. Their security guard is there.
Well, that's
dead.
why the person has access, killing all the people in the hospital. Where are they at?
Oh yeah, the 5 people.
The one. Yeah, the
in the
5
entire
people.
hospital.
They're all dead.
Richie is there.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
Yeah, and he's going down a freaking rabbit hole right now.
What do you mean rabbit hole?
Like he's like,
with the stab.
Yeah, and he's watching like fan-made videos, like reviews and stuff. And you know, Mindy goes on this huge rant about Stab 8 and talking about how terrible it is because it completely denotes like the franchise itself.
Yeah, it derails a franchise.
Yeah.
Everything is like worse after Stab 5.
And they use like a flamethrower. That's what the Ghostface uses.
It's all goofy. The writing's bad now. And
fun fact though,
okay,
the person who does the voice for Stab 8, Ghostface, is none other than Matthew Lillard.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Matthew Lillard's presence is felt throughout this entire movie, and like they talk about Stu Macher throughout the whole film.
Yeah.
But we get to see Billy Loomis.
Yeah, but you don't get to see him.
You get to feel him in spirit. And I wish he was more present because I really enjoyed Matthew Lillard in the first Scream movie. And it makes me think Billy's in this one. What's to keep Matthew Lillard from being in the new one coming up?
You know what? I'm right there with you. I really love Stu. I think he's a very fun, dynamic character. They also had several uncredited features from previous cast members in this movie in particular. Yeah. Are you ready for it? I have a list.
Tell me.
Okay, we'll do this and then we'll hop back into it. Drew Barrymore played the voice of the principal, saying like, "Oh, school's out" or something like that due to safety concerns. If you pay attention and you listen back, you can absolutely hear her voice. And I was like, Drew Barrymore in the flesh. Love it. We don't get to see her though. Sad. Adam Brody, who played Sheriff Haas in Scream 4. He was the white cop. He played a voice actor for The Party. So you hear, I guess you hear somebody talking, and it's one of them is him. One of them is Randy, Jamie Kennedy.
Nice.
And another one is Henry Winkler, who played the principal in the first Scream.
Wow, I appreciate that, especially since like this movie isn't directed by Wes Craven.
They still
honored all these people. So I think they really tried to like appeal to everybody. Like they really made an effort to be like, hey, we recognize how important these past movies have been to you, so we're gonna support everybody, you guys, the fans, but also all these actors that participated in it. Right. And I think that's very admirable. I really think that's something to give the directors and writers for this new one props on. So Tara's trying to get throughout this hospital. Richie stumbles out of a door, and he is such an endearing character for me. Like they keep like all this whole stuff like that he is like you said, going down a rabbit hole is very fun. It's very like it's something I enjoy a lot because he turns into like a goofball kind of character, like kind of stumbling over himself kind of thing. But it is suspicious because he's the only other person there with Tara.
Yeah.
But Ghostface shows up eventually.
Right behind him.
A tussle ensues while Ghostface is on the phone with Sam. And they keep talking to her. He makes her pick one. He tells her.
That was insane. That was a fun thing that they introduced. We've not really seen a lot of that.
What did you think? What would you like if you were Sam?
Well, I'm very loyal to my family.
Poor Patrick.
Not my boyfriend now. I wouldn't like if I had to pick between my partner and like my. That's a really terrible, horrible decision to make.
And Sam never makes a decision.
Yeah, she does stall.
She
on
stalls.
Purpose.
Yeah.
I would try to do that if I could, but But I mean, I don't know.
Then
it's a hard decision to make.
Yeah. Somebody's not making it, but fortunately for Sam, they both made it because they go up the elevator.
Somebody doesn't make it though.
Which is very unfortunate because they really could have. This is one of my gripes with the movie. I thought it was really cool that Dewey got a chance because Sam goes up there with Dewey and they get into a fight, Dewey and Ghostface. That Dewey wins.
Yeah.
So in general, I'm like, if you were seeing me watch this movie, Jeralyn, I was on the couch. I was like, yeah, like, because we've never seen Ghostface be taken down. And through all these movies, I'm always like, just fight him. Stop running. Fight him. You could take him.
Right. Because they're usually just teenagers or like young adults.
We know this one in particular is a teenager because we know who, like after seeing the movie, me and you know who the killers are. And Amber has to be the other one in the costume right now.
Yeah.
Because Richie is right there. So Dewey could totally take a teenager.
Totally.
And he does. The unfortunate part about this is when they all leave to go down to the elevator, he's like, hold on, I have to go back.
You have to hit him in the head. You have to shoot him in the head.
You gotta shoot him in the head because that's one of the rules.
That was literally what I wrote down before he like walked back. I was like, why does no one go and shoot in the head?
Well, Dewey never thinks about it. In the third movie, he had to be reminded by Sydney.
Yes, he did.
He
sure did.
In the head. But he goes back there to do it, but just the second before he shoots, he gets stabbed by the killer. Very sad. And at first you think, oh, well, Tara, she got through this. But he gets stabbed in the abdomen, gets stabbed through the back, and drug up.
Yes, that was.
Ouch.
Oh my gosh! Like there's no way he's coming back from that.
No, I was surprised.
It was almost like they mentioned that he got stabbed 9 times. It was almost like a cat, 9 lives or something like that.
And he was on his last one.
Yeah, he was on his last leg right there.
Poor guy. They mention later in the movie the reason they did this is because of stakes. Like these are higher stakes than what we're used to.
Yeah.
And I think they're right, but I really didn't think we had to see Dewey go.
I didn't want to see him go.
No, because like I said, he and Gil are the heart of the franchise.
Yeah.
I'd much rather see Sydney go than
that is so brutal.
Poor Dewey.
That's so brutal. I did read somewhere that the reason that they did this, they knew that they had to choose one legacy character to die, and they thought that it made sense for Dewey to go because Dewey is he's lovable and he's energetic and he's experienced at this, and at this point in his life, like he's had so much hardship, so they kind of saw it as like a endearing kind of sacrifice essentially. And I think the writers really toyed with it, and they were like they had to pick someone from the legacy characters to go, but they ultimately just decided that it'd be that.
Well, that all makes sense to me. I didn't think any of them needed to go.
If I'm being honest,
I think it would have been fine. But like, if you have to choose between the 3, I guess it does make sense that it's Dewey.
Because he would do that. He would help people, and that's
and then they do it in a way that's very like heroic. Like he gets to go out with a bang. Like,
he really does.
Yeah, he had his moment. He finally did.
He fought back for once. He tried every time, or like. Things unfortunately would he would run in to help people, and then he would meet his demise every time. But this time he willingly fought back, and he went back to like fight back again. Yeah. So it was a heroic thing because he was like, I'm gonna finish this.
He didn't do it for himself.
He didn't.
No, he did it for the safety of everybody else in the town that he protected.
Even though he didn't want to originally, but he can't say no. He is a helper. That's what he does.
Yeah. Well, he gets Ghostface gets away. And we get to see him taken out on a stretcher. And that's the kind of like death mark in these movies. If you're in a body bag, you're not making it. If you're on a stretcher exposed, you're all good. Dewey, unfortunately, isn't. He's taken to a hospital, and this is what finally brings Sydney into our story. Finally.
Yeah, we get to see Gail break down, and then she just sits in the hospital, like kind of staring out into space.
Yeah.
I would be an absolute wreck. I mean, not to mention, there is also a real connection there between Courtney Cox and David Arquette.
You mentioned
anyway.
that. I wouldn't have known if you hadn't told me that.
Because they were married.
They had a relationship together.
They were married in real life. I have no idea what their relationship is now as adults.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they have any children together. I could be wrong. But like I'm sure part of that was also put into that like emotional breakdown where Gail like saw him leave kind of thing. So
do
sad.
You know if they met through the Scream series?
Yeah, they did.
Wow.
They met on set in Scream, in the first Scream, and then
that's what got together.
They started like I guess hanging out by the second one and got married by the third one.
Wow. Well, I think that probably added to the performance, like having those like residual emotions from their actual, lives and relationship with each other. We get to see Sydney again, and Sydney, gives her condolences to Gail Weathers for Dewey, poor Dewey.
So then they find, after this tender moment, Tara and Sam have another heart-to-heart, and they finally make up. And she's like, no, I want you here with me, kind of thing.
Which I like, because like Tara's a smart girl. Tara's younger than Sam, but she kind of sees what Sam's going through, like all the emotions that are going on.
She's empathetic. She can see it and feel it, kind of thing.
Yeah. And she even asked her, like, well, why didn't you come to me?
Yeah.
And Sam says that she was trying to protect her.
Yeah.
She didn't want any harm to happen to her, so she moved far away.
Yeah.
Which is admirable in a way. Like, it's tragic.
It is tragic.
That, she has to suffer alone. And her sister has to, deal without her. But
specifically alone. She was alone during that. And then she met Richie, which I hate him, but I know you love him.
Now, I'm really happy about the relationship between Sam and Tara. I think it's very nice that we have two siblings that, have had a troubled past but get along with each other.
I actually wrote this down. Sam and Tara are the first pair of siblings, along with Mindy and Chad, who later we get to watch more of them, which I think they're a very fun sibling pair as well.
I like them.
They're like the first pair, other than Mindy and Chad, to successfully survive a Scream film.
Wow.
Because every other one has not survived, because Maureen Prescott and Kate Prescott, which was the sister that we met in Scream 4, who was Jill's mom, Randy and Martha. Randy dies. Tatum and Dewey. Tatum dies in the first Scream, and Dewey dies in the fifth one. And then Stu and his sister Leslie. Of course, Stu is the one out of that pairing to die. And then also Roman and Sydney. Roman dies as well.
But this one, we're taking away that rule.
We're taking away that rule, yeah.
So they decide we're going to get the heck out of Dodge, and we're going to get out of Owensboro.
Woodsboro. I swear we could play a drinking game.
And they're going to go get away from this mess, Jeralyn.
Yeah.
Because what else would you do? Like, come on.
I wouldn't sit around and wait for that. No.
I would go somewhere, right?
But no, Sydney and Gail approach them, and they're like, help us kill him.
Awful advice, in my opinion. What do you think?
I feel like
if they're the ones with the experience,
right? If anyone would kill them, it would be Sydney. It makes sense to me that would be. I think it's a logical request.
So
you kind of like, she would be the bait because they're trying to go after her.
You would agree to that, Jeralyn?
I think. I mean, as a person and not in the situation, I agree with it. I think that's like a smart move. It's strategic, but as an outside, like as not the person in the situation, as not being Sam, I would be like, "What? No.
I'd get the heck out of there."
Yeah,
which is what she decides to do. Sydney puts a tracker on their car. How that works, I don't know. But they're gonna get the heck out of there. But Tara needs an inhaler, and she doesn't have one. But she left one at her friend's house, Amber. So they're gonna go back there to visit them. Richie really doesn't want to go.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to go there because he's like, why would I go there? The killer's gonna kill me. She can make it, but no, they convince him that she has to go get her inhaler.
You know what I'm thinking about that's really funny is, so we're going to Amber's house, right? And Richie and Amber have a very funny, kind of interesting interaction at the hospital when Tara is there. Sorry, I'm trying to get my notes so I can keep up with my thought process. and they start pointing fingers at each other when, like, because I mean, it's a whodunit, of course. That's always what happens here. It's like a murder mystery whodunit, but with horror and blood and guts. And in this point, like at this point in the movie, they're talking about like who it could be and stuff. And of course, Dewey has kind of planted the seed. Well, how long do you know him? And like, how long have you known your boyfriend, kind of thing? Because obvious reasons. Billy was the original killer. Of course, it would be a boyfriend. Makes sense. And at some point, Amber says something to him like, oh, I think it's you. And then he says something to her like, oh, I think it's you. And I think it's so funny that they have this weird back and forth banter. And later we find out it's those two. Stupid. I feel like it was very obvious that like the way that they were pointing fingers.
I could see that, but I think that happens throughout this whole like you had the same exact thing happen in the first Scream.
Right.
With Randy being like, oh, it's Billy. And at the end of the movie, it was Billy. So in a way, I could see that being like an homage to that in the first movie where they do the same thing.
It just feels boring. I wanted to see something different, and I didn't get that.
I think it's ironic that you say that just because, and this is one of my gripes with the movie.
Okay.
Because the movie says that. Like you saying you want them to do something different, they explain to you that requels have to stay the same. For the most part, and then
then they're on their own a little bit. So
I understand
so
that. They're being self-aware here
and very meta.
But I don't think being self-aware is the same thing as being better. Like, I don't think if like, and that's kind of the point the movie is making a little bit. I can agree. This is a super far comparison, Jeralyn. Look, this is really far different.
Like far-fetched is what you're saying?
Bo Burnham, right?
Love Bo Burnham.
I am also a big fan of Bo Burnham, but he came out with this this film on Netflix called Inside. And in Inside, he criticizes a lot of pop culture. He talks about a lot of social issues, and he references race and all these things. And what's fascinating is one of the songs on this, because it's a music endeavor. He has a song about being self-aware that just because he is writing these songs doesn't make him any better of a person. He still lies within that system. Yeah. And he talks about how he's a white guy writing these songs that make him feel better about himself. So it's like this it's this other meta thing where he specifically states that being self-aware doesn't make you better. And I agree with that. And I think this movie tries to do that where like they're kind of being like, yeah, we know. Like there's even a part of the movie where they were like, oh, stab 8. Why don't they call it stab 8? Yeah. Like it's obviously stab 8, but they just call it stab the same way this movie is just called Scream.
I thought that was really funny that they did that too.
But I don't think that makes it any better. This movie.
It doesn't, but I just think like I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't this is essentially where I'm going with it. And I have zero expectations for Scream 6 because I have no idea.
So there's no way to go but up.
No, yeah, honestly, I'm like, okay, all I know is that it's set in New York City. We don't know, but that's all that I know. But so
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So when somebody passes away that you love dearly, do you like to celebrate their life? Do you throw a big rager at your house?
I absolutely do not. And
These teens do.
They're teenagers, of course they do.
Okay, I wouldn't know.
Invincible,
That makes sense, and it makes sense. Chad especially, he's like, I drink to, it's my therapy. And that makes sense to me.
Smart move.
I don't know why any of these kids are drinking. I think they're all underage, Jeralyn.
Of course they are, because they're in high school. That's what they're supposed to be, even though some of them do look like they're 30 years old still.
Easily, yeah.
But that's what they always do in these Hollywood films. They have like 30-year-olds play 17-year-olds, and they think that it works.
What do you think?
Sometimes it does. It depends. Some like people look really young. Like Zendaya looks very young.
Yeah. I think this
and she's like 25, 26.
This movie, I think, does the best younger casting.
I think so too.
These kids look more like kids than like
the
first Scream.
Yeah.
I think the only exception is Jill in Scream 4. I think she was a kid.
She was a kid playing a kid, so that worked out.
I like that. Chad and Liv are having a problem. They're having relationship issues. So
yeah, because I also took a note there. Chad reverses the stereotype of a jock. Jocks typically are trying to get in their girlfriend's pants during the horror films, And like he doesn't do that. She's like, okay, I'm ready, I want to do this. And typically the jock would jump to that like moment, like, yeah, let's go do it. And a number one,
Right.
if you like, that's one of the rules. And he's a nephew of Randy Meeks, so of course he's not going to do that because he is abiding by the rules, where if you have sex and there's a killer on the loose, you're one of the first ones to go.
That's interesting, because I didn't think of it that way, but I think you're right. Like Randy, knows the rules, and this
Right.
is related somebody who's related to Randy. What I did find super interesting was him with his girlfriend. Like she gets mad,
Yeah.
because she wants to go at it, at this, tribute to this dead person, and like she wants to go upstairs and have a fun time, but he doesn't want any part of it because he's not sure that his girlfriend's the killer.
Yeah.
And she gets pissed.
How would you feel?
It's hard to say, because I feel like, I've been with my partner for a long time. So I'm like, I would obviously trust my partner, just because there's no way, like in my life now.
Do you think she would trust you?
I can only assume so. I'm going to say yes. Whether I'm
You're
right or wrong.
you're a good liar, though. I don't know.
I think I am a good liar, Jeralyn, and so it works out for me either way.
Okay.
But I can understand him. Like he's like, these are high schoolers. I've been with my partner a long time. There's no way these guys have been together for more than 2 years.
Maybe less.
Maybe less, because like that's how it is when you're in high school and doing all this stuff.
They're like flings in high school. You think it's forever, but it's not. They're just flings.
Right. But so she gets mad, storms out, and then Chad ends up going out to go meet her. She has this little app on his phone called Find Your Friend.
Find My Fam or something like that.
It's a real app.
Is it really?
Yeah, you don't have it?
Find My Fam?
I don't know what it's called, but it's an app. It's called similar, if not the same thing.
I've never in my life heard that was a real thing, but I'm sure there is. There's an app for everything.
Yeah. Well, it's usually more younger people that use this app, find their own friends, which makes sense. These guys are high schoolers.
Yeah, makes sense.
But he uses the app to find his girlfriend, but it's not his girlfriend that he finds.
Not his girlfriend.
He finds Ghostface.
Sure does. He gets stabbed a lot.
Yeah. They have a little chase, and he gets stabbed, what do you think? 99 times? He gets stabbed a lot.
It was a lot. I was like, oh my God.
He ends up living through this.
He sure does.
Which surprises me.
Yeah. But I like his character a lot.
I like it too, yeah.
I don't know. There's just something different about these characters that I feel like there's more connection with them, especially with them being related to the legacy character, Randy, who's already gone. So, they're at least safe for this movie.
Mm-hmm. I really like, I don't know what it is in the movie, but there's a scene between Amber and Mindy in the basement.
Love that scene.
I love it so much because it's a really tense scene. Jeralyn, this movie's a really low budget. The first two Scream movies were also low budget, and then they got a much bigger one once they saw that these movies are a hit. But this one only I think had like 24 million, which is less than the last two installations.
Interesting.
Yeah, so like it kept on ramping up more and more budget until Scream 4, because Scream 4, the last one directed by Wes Craven, failed at the box office.
That's very interesting, because I think it's one of the best ones that he did.
I agree. It's so unfortunate. And that's just how things happen.
It's really hard to like really target your market, because nowadays streaming services, and at that time there weren't really, Netflix was around, but it wasn't what it is now. Like you could kind of, because that was 2011, if I'm not mistaken. In 2011, at that point, it was still like maybe like them sending like the DVDs.
I think so. Not the way it is now, definitely.
Not the way it is now.
No. But so because of that, they had a much smaller budget here.
Yeah.
And I always love parts in movies where you can tell like this is just two people in a basement and a camera.
Yeah.
Like in dialogue, but it's so much tension. So I appreciate it when I see like something I could shoot and see like these creative people figuring out how this thing costs nothing, but they made it so like evoking of emotion.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that, because they're looking at each other.
And that's also a testament to your like ensemble of actors and actresses, because if they can make you feel that tension and that they're doing their job well as storytellers too, it's not just the camera work. No shame to the camera work. The camera work is very important. Obviously, without a camera, we wouldn't be able to see it. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah.
So they're having this party. Chad gets stabbed 25 million times. Throughout this party, Mindy's making out with another girl.
Yeah, she said that she was going to make out with this girl or try to get lucky with this girl. But I'm like, so Chad doesn't want to break the rule because he also doesn't trust the girl that he's with because he doesn't know her well enough. But Mindy's willing to like kiss another girl and like maybe do things.
Yeah, Mindy's kind of careless.
A little bit.
If I'm being honest, because Mindy is like also watching a scary movie. She's watching one of the first stab movie, I think.
The first stab movie.
On a couch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and Chad's like, why are you watching this?
Yeah. You know, after Richie and Sam show up, they disband the party. Party's over, kids.
Yeah, lame.
And then so they all leave, which is of course what the killers want. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there's always
the isolation. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mindy's still watching the TV, and she gets into an altercation with Liv. They start yelling at each other, and Liv is scary and crazy.
Yeah. Before then, fun fact: Richie goes to the basement to get beer. Well, first of all, he's like, "Hey, where's the beer?" And she's like, "In the basement." And then he's like, "Well, do you want to go with me?" And she's like, "No." And I think this part is really fun because then he goes, "Okay, whatever." Goes down there to get beer in quotations. Yeah. And then as soon as he like shuts the door or something, she's like, "Well, he's dead." Like she's just very like, what's the word? Not very mindful.
Nonchalant.
Yeah, nonchalant. That's the best way to describe Mindy, and I love it. I think it's very funny. It is insensitive, but it is funny.
Yeah, I like Mindy. Mindy's probably one of my favorite characters amongst all of them.
I really did not want her or Chad to die. I was like, no, when Chad got stabbed. I don't know.
Because you like them. They're endearing. Liv, on the other hand, I do not like her at all. I know you said you like her hair, Jeralyn.
I like her hair, but you don't really know her enough. And that's the thing. There's not really much of a connection there, so I wasn't very sad when she got. It was sad because she's a teen.
That surprised me. I thought she was a killer.
Well, she wants people to think that she's capable of it, but Mindy mentioned in the beginning of the film that she thought Liv was too boring to be the killer.
Yeah,
so she's offended by that.
Yeah, but she said the craziest shit, Doc. like I don't know what the dialogue is, but she's like she threatens Mindy. Yeah, like she's gonna hang her up by a rope or a noose or something. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, she's the killer.
I really at that point, they're making it seem like it's her, but I was like, no. I think Mindy's right. She might be too boring. She doesn't seem like she's got anything going on.
But I guess it's all melodrama.
Yeah. She just wants somebody to think that she's kind of crazy. That's what she wants.
Which is too crazy as because there's a killer around, and she literally does this thing, the thing with like her thumb, like I'm gonna get you. Like, how could you look any more suspicious, dog? And like you said earlier, maybe some people do deserve to die.
Oh, and God. I didn't say it like that.
For acting this way, Liv, I'm sorry. You're not going to make it. And
I didn't say it like that.
And I don't mind. Like, the way she got killed is so insane.
It was fun. I'm not going to lie.
We'll get there in a minute.
Yeah.
But Gail is trying to call the gang back at the house because they realize the killer is there.
Yeah.
How do they realize this, Jeralyn?
Because Sydney has a tracker on her car.
But where are they?
Stu Macher's house.
What a twist.
Stu Macher's house.
They're at Stu's old house.
Isn't that fun?
It's a lot of fun. I wish we got a bigger shot of the house.
Yeah. Made it more obvious when we got there.
Because we kind of remembered with the basement part, like the garage.
Yeah.
Like they went to the basement instead of the garage. Which makes me think, Jeralyn, they have 3 fridges. Which makes sense because in the first one, we talked about how rich they are with their huge-ass house.
It's true.
Yeah, but they got 3 fridges. How many fridges do you have?
1.
They can afford 3.
That's crazy.
Does that make you jealous?
A little bit, because I would like to have more food. And even though we don't really keep a lot of food in our fridge today.
Is your fridge full right now?
No. It's full enough of like condiments and other things that don't matter, but...
What's for breakfast tomorrow?
We'll find out.
So Gail can't get a hold of him.
No.
I don't think. And now Sam is freaking the F out.
Yeah, I would be too, because where's Tara? She can't find Tara. Tara's with Amber.
Ghostface is out here making moves. I think it's really scary because after after Liv leaves the room, Ghostface, it's so meta. Like where Mindy is watching the scene in Stab,
It's
where
so fun.
Randy is sitting on the couch and Ghostface is approaching her, and Randy's watching Halloween and he keeps on yelling at her, turn around, and she won't do it. Meanwhile, Ghostface is behind him.
Yeah.
And she's watching that movie on her TV.
And she's like, Randy, turn around, man.
And there's Ghostface behind her.
But she sees a reflection in the TV screen and prompts her to turn around.
Which is a little too late. Because like they get in a tussle and she gets stabbed. We don't see her for a while after that. Like it's kind of like we don't know. Like this is the last time we see her really until the very end. And after all this altercation, they all kind of like move around. Ghostface ends up leaving, and it's so tense because everybody in the house gathers in one room,
and Liv comes in screaming and crying, and she says that she's found Chad, but she looks suspicious as hell. Where have you been, girl?
Her hands are bloody and she just did that thing with her throat. I think she's the killer. And the whole gang is there. Obviously the killer is in that room amongst them, and they're all tossing blame at each other. And once they blame Amber, she freaking admits to it and shoots Liv straight through the head.
I liked that shot. Like the cinematic thing, it felt very fun.
That angle, like it does like this sideways zoom. It's
really fun. I don't know how to describe it.
She looks crazy.
She does. However, I think they're boring as hell. Those killers, they're boring to me. There's not much dynamic to them.
I like them. Like I think these killers do it for me. Specifically later too. Like I think their motivation is dumb.
It's dumb. It's very similar to Mickey, if that makes sense. Mickey and Jill. It's like Mickey and Jill. Yeah.
They both had like the same kind of like it's about movies. The third one, what's the third one's name?
Roman
wasn't about movies.
It's about revenge, but that makes
the whole
sense.
movie was about a movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not like if you call it boring, like I can agree with you.
Yeah.
But as boring as they usually are.
I guess, but I mean, at least I feel like, Billy Loomis had like a reason that he wanted to go after Sydney. That makes sense. It's sad, he's a hurt, broken boy and his mommy left home. Got it. Whatever. And then you have Stu, who's just kind of there. Whatever.
Which I like.
I like it.
I like it
loyal.
because it shows how
how impressionable people are.
Exactly. And that makes it sad because look, I've referenced it in the first episode, but there's a couple of moments with Stu where he's like, I think you stabbed me too hard, man.
Yeah.
Or the second part where like he's on the phone and he's like, you called the cops? My mom and dad are going to kill me.
Yeah.
That is sad.
Yeah.
That hurts that like he is just a kid and he's going to suffer for this because he was so impressionable.
Yeah. But then you also are killing people. So then it's like, how bad do you really feel for these kids?
I think it's tragic, at least narratively.
Narratively, yes. Yeah. But
so I appreciate characters like that. And of course, Billy and Stu are much better killers than this movie, but they're much better killers than all the other ones.
They were way more methodical. They really didn't get caught until, the end.
Which is kind of why I like seeing Billy Loomis in this movie again.
Makes sense.
Just because
Full circle.
He is iconic. And we get to see like this past like brought up more vividly than any of the other ones. 3 or 4 brought up the past. Mm-hmm. But I feel like this one, it has a direct line to like in a visually interesting way just to see Billy here in one of these movies.
That makes sense. I can respect that. I really, it does not feel fresh, but again, it's a requel.
Okay. Yeah.
We're going to use that term. So it's hard to be fresh when you're trying to also abide by the original as much as possible. And make it your own. So like they're doing a lot of people pleasing here. Yeah. Did it please me? No. It was okay. I really was not like overwhelmed.
Which is usually the case with prequels, right?
Yeah.
It's like they're trying to appease everybody, but usually, I mean, people didn't like the new Lion King movie.
I didn't watch it.
People like the Star Wars movies.
But the Lion King was not my favorite personally anyway. So I was like, whatever.
Okay. A way to like make a bunch of viewers mad. Direct any hate comments towards Jeralyn, please.
The music's fantastic. I don't mind the music. I don't know. I never really watched it growing up, so I just didn't. I've not had that connection to it.
I've actually only seen these Disney movies as an adult because I've never seen any of them growing up.
Wow.
So the Lion King's one of the first ones I saw.
The Lion King I never saw, and we owned it on VHS. I think we owned that and the Lion King too.
Might as well been thrown into the garbage bin for you though, because you
My
weren't.
sister liked them, so they didn't go to waste.
Right. Very unlike those movies. This movie, very scary. I wouldn't have watched it as a kid on VHS, but this one's never going to come out on VHS.
That's so sad. Isn't that weird to think?
No, not really. So Gail and Sydney finally show up to the house.
Yeah, they sure do.
Very interesting altercation, because as they show up, Amber is leaving the house pretending like somebody shot her.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, fuck this. And then shoots Gail Weathers in the stomach.
Yeah, because she's like, what do you think? And then Gail's like, It's almost like they've been through this, so of course they're not willing to just trust the situation as is.
Sid says, you got to go to a hospital, and Gail tells her no. End this right here.
Yeah.
And so she does. She goes inside with her gun and starts shooting every closed door.
Gosh.
She yells out, everybody, innocent or not, come out from hiding.
Yeah.
And okay, ready or not, here I come. And she just sees a door, shoots it. Sees a door, shoots it.
Love it.
Until she eventually comes across Richie.
Yeah. And he's being sus. Like, why are you just waiting?
Jeralyn, is that sus? Would you not be hiding?
She said, come out.
And he says, would you really trust somebody who says that? No. Ghostface could have. You don't know who the killer is.
It's Sydney. Sydney wouldn't be Ghostface. That would be one hell of a twist, though.
That would not a twist I would enjoy.
I would not enjoy it either.
But he doesn't come out, so she gets shot in the leg.
Yeah.
And he comes down. He comes out with her. He comes downstairs. They start talking to each other. I think also between this, Sam finds Tara tied up in a closet upstairs.
Yeah.
And she has this moment of like, what do I do? Is the viewer at least is kind of presumed to think, is she the killer? Is Tara one of the killers? Which I also thought. I was like, could Tara be one of the evildoers here?
You were bad at whodunits.
I'm not a thinker, Jeralyn. I'm a feeler. And I kind of felt like it could have been Tara.
Well, it's only because Richie planted something. You would have been manipulated easy by Richie.
Probably. I would have been like, that's my boy.
Yeah, but Richie like plants a bug in Sam's head, and he's like, for all you know, it could be Tara.
Yeah, he does. And
I'm like,
that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it could be Tara.
And
so
shocked.
Sam has to decide right now because she's hesitant to untie her.
Yeah. Hesitant.
She ends up doing it though.
She ends up doing it.
We're like, it's not shown, but eventually later on you learn that she did trust her sister, which is a very nice little thing to do because it's a progression. It shows like her character development,
loyalty.
Yeah. So Ghostface shows up and throws Sydney off the top of the second floor.
Yeah.
Painful fall. Yeah.
Ouch. Ouchie. Ouchie.
I haven't fallen often, but it doesn't look like any fun whatsoever.
I really like this, like the scene leading up to this whole thing because I liked Sydney's character development there. Like normally she would like entertain the killer, but at this point, like in her life, she's got kids. She doesn't really care. She just wants to be home. She's just here to help solve a thing and end the killer. And she like is on the phone with the killer and she's like, I'm bored, and like hangs up. And I was like, I loved that. That was really fun.
I do like it. And Sydney does say something too, like where she's like, you have a gun? I'm Sydney Prescott. Of course I got a gun.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. But that hasn't been true throughout any of these movies. She never has a gun. Every time you think to yourself, she should have a gun. But she never has it. But this one,
that's actually a very interesting point.
So, Sydney's passed out on the floor. Richie. I keep thinking his name is Archie, dog. Archie comes down the stairs. This is not Riverdale. I don't know what Riverdale is.
Riverdale's awful.
You like Riverdale?
No.
It's your favorite show.
I watched the first two seasons. All right. The rest, awful. I still will watch it every so often and be like, oh. And then I'm like, this is why I stopped watching this like a long time ago. But then I'll just keep.
It's too much stuff. I don't know who Jughead is, but Richie comes down the stairs, and it's like limping because he got shot in the leg. Comes across Sam.
Yeah.
And so like Sam, obviously trusts her boyfriend, and then it's revealed he's the killer. He grabs a knife, stabs it through her stomach.
Stabs her in the stomach.
What? When I saw this, I was flabbergasted.
So like, let's say that you and Bailey, you trust her
after
all of this time.
I do.
After all this time being together, say you trust her, and then a situation like this happens. She stabs you in the gut.
Yeah.
How devastated would you be?
One, I'd be happy that this mortal coil has finally ended. My pain and suffering has finally been alleviated. And then I thank Bailey for doing the honor. And Go to those pearly gates in heaven, you know?
It's very simp-like of you, though, to be like, thank you for this.
Isn't that your thing, Jeralyn?
No.
Like, isn't that, you know?
Maybe.
Okay. But this is what happens to Sam. Sam isn't very thankful. Sam is not happy. Sam is surprised as I am that her boyfriend is one of the killers. We get revealed what their motives are.
So dumb.
Their motive is that they're both big fans of Stab.
It's toxic fandom is what it is.
Yes.
Which there are a lot of them.
Oh boy. So
it's a fun social commentary on that.
It is a fun social commentary. I think some of the parallels here are Star Wars.
Yeah.
And that one involves sexism, racism, like people talking about like, you know, this, like, why do they have to force inclusivity, diversity? A lot of people don't like these movies. They ruined the original, and this is also like a one of those requel scenarios. They even mentioned Rian Johnson, the director of The Last Jedi, by name earlier in the film when they start talking about requels. They talk like in recent memory. Same thing with another superhero franchise, DC. The Snyder Cut and all the toxicity about like release the Snyder Cut. All these fans that are only focused on like what they want, and they will say all these awful things on Twitter to get what they want. That is what this movie is referencing. And I think this movie does a good job of making it also timely. Like, requels are big right now, and toxic fandom is also really big right now. And so I give props to them for. I think it's a perfect commentary or motive to have in terms of how Scream handled its meta-ness. It's just as a narrative independently of all that, it's not strong.
I would agree. It's not strong because, I mean, not to mention, there's another plot hole where I think is kind of creepy because we don't really know the age of this Richie man.
No.
But we know that Amber's at least like 17.
Yeah, high
roughly.
schooler.
And I'm like, this man probably is in his like 20s or something. He's in his 20s or something, and that's just weird because she's 17. First of all, that's a weird narrative anyway. They met on a subreddit, which Reddit in general and subreddits can be also very toxic and stuff. And they can also be very inappropriate too. And people are impressionable. Young Amber here, impressionable as well. She's 17. Yeah. However, it's hard to pinpoint who was the mastermind of it, because obviously we know that like in each movie there's kind of been like the person who has
this one is a little more even, like you're saying, like the motives aren't good. I agree with you. It's so much so that once Richie started giving away like his motive, I thought, oh, okay, so he's the one with the dumb motive. And let's hear Amber's motive, because obviously, like you said, it's usually one of them has an actual reason. Or like Billy and Sue, the original, you know, Billy had a reason. Sue was just kind of playing along. So that's what I thought was the case here when we first found out the first motive. I thought the second one is going to be the one with the good one. Like in the second Scream movie, Mickey, stupid motive. But Billy's mom motive makes much more sense. It's a lot more reasonable to do all this stuff. But this one, it's only the one bad motive. And like I said, I think there's a lot to praise for the timeliness and like what they ended up going with. I think there's a lot of good to say specifically within the Scream franchise, but as a film and storytelling narrative itself, it's just weak. It's like a dumb reason to do all this stuff. Just two people who didn't like the Stab movies and wanted to make their own better version of it. And because it's always better when it's based off true events according to them. And that's why they're going off doing all this stuff, which is just not, it's not enticing. It's not appealing. It's not new.
Yeah. And I also think that, to your point, it almost is like a direct copy of, you know, Scream 4, Jill's motive a little bit, where, you know, they want to make their own movie, but she also wants to be like the victim, like the perfect victim, so she can take Sydney's place. Yeah. But they like walk around with like webcams, and they have plant webcams for their killings and stuff. So they're like literally making their own movie with footage and stuff. Yeah. But it's like it's just so, it felt really lazy, I guess, for a motive. I understand for the commentary, like for the commentary purposes, completely understandable, relatable, got it. But it just did not. Yeah. Again, this is just one of those things where it did not hit the mark for me.
I can feel you there. Like, and I agree. It is a bad motive, but in general, I don't think we've gotten many good ones in the Scream franchise.
That's very true. Yeah. I think they all might circulate back to one another, kind of thing. It's all like one big, like one big circle kind of thing.
Because they always hit back to like being meta and making movies within a movie, so it makes sense. We get to see one of my, I think, the best performance, if I'm being honest, in this entire film is when Sydney and Gail are fighting Amber. Mm-hmm. I think is so like the actress that plays Amber. You said her name?
Mikey Madison.
Oh my gosh! Like she's trying to kill them, and when she gets cornered, they're like, please, like I'm just an innocent. I got radicalized on the internet. Like I'm just a kid. Yeah. Like oh my, she sells that so like quickly, and it shows to like how crazy she is and how self-aware she is. Yeah, that she knows she's doing these awful things, and she knows like how to give her excuse.
Yeah, she's very quick with it.
Yeah, she's so quick with it, and Gail and Sid aren't falling for it. Mm-mm. They don't believe her, but I think that short little performance there from her is very good.
I think so too. She's been in several other things, and people mentioned that her death in this scene with the fire, she gets like caught on fire.
Yes.
She also gets caught on fire somehow in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood by Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's actually, I forgot that she was even in that movie. So it's a really fun little tidbit.
She's a typecasted flame person, I guess. Yeah. It's so goofy how she catches on fire in this one. She basically just accidentally turns on the stove.
Yeah, and she had like hand sanitizer on her, so that started it as like that was the catalyst for it because
that makes more sense to me. I guess
it has alcohol in it.
When they mentioned the hand sanitizer, I only thought like, oh well, this was made during the pandemic. Like this is like a remnant of like mentioning that happened. Mm-hmm. But that makes sense that she had alcohol. That's what because from my perspective, I just saw her like lay her upper chest on upon an open flame, and she just burst in her whole head, hair, arms.
Yeah.
So I was surprised.
Obviously, these scenes were very choreographed anyway, but it felt choreographed, especially there. Like, oh, you have to make sure to fall on the stove.
I liked it though, because this movie I think is absent a lot of camp.
Yeah.
And so like I like that we get a little bit of it here.
It was also really funny because they criticized Stab 8 because, the ghost face had a flamethrower. I thought it was also really funny because it was like a very timely thing. Like, you hated it. Here's your ending.
Right. Meanwhile, they eventually do, she catches on fire. That's one killer down. Mm-hmm. In the other room, Richie is tormenting Sam a bit.
Again, that's like toying with your food. I just don't understand. In the mind of a killer, I mean, I'm not a killer, so I don't understand. Yeah. But to me, I just don't understand why they wouldn't
make a bad movie. That's why, Jeralyn.
I guess it would make a bad movie, but
they just went, and then so like the killer would win each time. Instead of explaining the motive, gives the hero the opportunity.
That's fair, and that's how it works in the formula, and it's very formulaic in that like pretense and stuff. But like. To me, I'm like, I just don't understand. Like, I mean, when you watch other, like, I don't know, when you watch documentaries or you watch other, like, movies that are horror films or something, and it's about a serial killer, or they're like, I don't know, people created new things. Mm-hmm. A lot of the time, motives are not really explained. So sometimes those people I just don't really feel like it's very performative, and it's obviously meant to be a performance anyway because it is a theater, it's a film, obviously, but I just don't understand. It just drives me nuts. It's my biggest. Yeah. It's one of my biggest gripes with these movies.
I think that's this is again like an interesting comparison because it has nothing to do with this at all. But those ads that you see on TikTok for games to download, a lot of the time it's like the simple game where like you have to remove a key for things to run the right way. Yeah. And they always do it wrong if you notice because they want you to get angry and do it for yourself. Do it the right way. Yeah. It's like eliciting those kinds of emotions. Yeah. It's the same thing with Randy on the couch. Turn around. Everybody in the theater probably yelling that. But that takes like it makes you feel something.
I guess it is supposed to because I mean I'm sure I'm not the only one in the world who gets very upset by this.
Everybody is probably sitting there thinking the same thing.
Well, because in this movie called Van Helsing, starring Kate Beckinsale, there's a part where one of the vampire ladies is supposed to she's trying to kill Kate Beckinsale's character, and she's dragging on and on about how she's going to do it and stuff. And Kate Beckinsale ends up stabbing her in the stomach. She's like, if you're going to stand there talking about like killing somebody, if you're going to kill somebody, don't just stand there talking about it, is what she says.
And that's cool. And that plays on subversion because like all of them, usually the killer gets the chance to explain it. And that, they're like, nope.
I like it. So it takes it away. Makes it, you're not expecting. It takes away that expectation because normally you're like, motive. What is it? Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's just different because like every franchise is different in their own way because like you don't get motive a lot from other killers a lot of the time. Like Michael Myers, you don't really get motive from him. He doesn't fucking talk.
Well, I guess I'll find that out eventually throughout this course of the podcast. The next thing we see, I actually think is cool, but makes no sense to me at all.
Oh, this is your biggest gripe?
This isn't my biggest gripe, but this is my biggest gripe about Billy Loomis.
Okay.
Where, so Sam is getting hurt by Richie.
Yeah.
And she's on the floor crawling. She looks up at a mirror, and in the mirror she sees a reflection of her father, Billy Loomis. Yeah. And he just gives her the good old head nod, like, you got this.
Yeah.
Because she reaches for something, and it's a knife. And the cool thing is, Sam gets the knife, kills Richie, and I really like this part where like he's like, but what about my movie? And then he gets sliced, and I like that a lot because one, she's showing that she's capable, and she brutally murders this man.
Yeah.
Like she stabs him several times.
But I mean, like he made it. I mean, he gave her a reason to murder him because he's like, oh, it was so easy finding you in wherever she was. Yeah. And then he's like, and it wasn't that hard to like
he was
get you to like fuck me either.
Yeah.
And I was like, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
But funny, like, I also hate this Billy Loomis scene too. I think it's really stupid. But there's also part of that scene earlier when she was driving to Sheriff Hicks' house when they had passed, and she sees Billy in her rearview mirror, and he mentions like, let's cut some fucking throats.
Yeah.
Later, she does cut Richie's throat.
Oh yeah, see, I like that. I think that it's super cool to me.
It can be fun, but
it's really fun. The more you think about it, the worse it gets, in my opinion. like I think it's cool that she slices his throat, and I like his line there right before he dies. He says, "What about my movie?" And that's a very much like Stu thing. Like, you called my mom and dad.
Yeah.
Like it is.
Don't feel bad for Richie though. Don't feel bad for him. He's a piece of shit.
It's not that I feel bad for it. It's like that. Like you're saying. Like it's like he is so concerned about other things.
He's very much in denial. He's in denial.
And
he's not aware.
He's doing all this killing, and now he meets the end of his fate. Yeah. And there's something so gripping about like knowing that somebody else is like they're doing all these awful things, and the thing they're thinking about is this an unimportant thing. Like that is so, like when you find out in real life that this like a person killed somebody over something so random, it's like it's scary.
That is scary because anybody can snap.
So I really like that in the scene. And I like the idea of Billy Loomis like helping almost Sam do this thing. I think it's really cool, and I think the concept is cool. My only problem is the several implications of this. One, it makes Billy out to be like this redeemable character.
Yeah, and he's not.
Two, the theme that it reinforces doesn't make any sense at all. It's that Sam is worried about being a killer, and maybe she should give into those tendencies. It is a worrisome kind of thing that they're presenting. It doesn't it's not very moral. Like, it's troublesome.
However, I do think that they are like normalizing mental health in this film because she is on antipsychotic meds.
Yes, that is something I really like. The representation is that like and this is random, but like Venom. I like Venom, the superhero movie, a lot. You wouldn't think too much about mental health, but from my perspective, I think it could say a lot about schizophrenia and that kind of representation that you don't really think about too much. It's just kind of there, and you just take it for what it is. I like that. And so that's why I like this too, or like, I think it's cool that she's seeing Billy Loomis, and that like it does involve this mental health kind of angle at it. I just think, like I said, the more you think about it, it doesn't make much sense. And And so it's like you take what you like, and
Yeah,
there's some parts you don't like. Another thing that doesn't make any sense to me at all. This is the one that there's no redeemable like explanation for this whatsoever.
Okay.
She finds a knife on the floor.
Right.
She only sees the handle of it, and Billy Loomis, does the cool guy
Yeah.
nod. What doesn't make any sense to me at all is it looks like he knows that it's a knife, and that the knife has been there for the last 20 years from the last time that he used it. Like, it doesn't. The way they do the shot makes it look like, yeah, that's a knife. Go for it, kid. Like, it doesn't make any.
I think that maybe she dropped I think she had a knife, and I think that she dropped it. I could be wrong.
The nod is for approval.
It's just so weird.
It's for her wanting to do the kill, but it almost looks like it's approval of like, yes, that is a knife.
Yeah.
But it's really for her to like go apeshit.
But what I think is really cool as well is that she's breaking generational trauma or breaking generational stuff with this film as well, because Mrs. Loomis, killer. Billy Loomis, killer. Dad, killer. She is changing. She's kind of writing her own story. She only killed in self-defense because she was about to be killed. So I mean, maybe she might be a Dexter. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, see, it's all complicated. Yeah,
it is complicated.
But because that you're mentioning Dexter, like that makes it fascinating.
Yeah.
But it's just like I said, like
thinking
cringy about Billy being a good guy now,
like her mentor.
Yeah, that makes it weird.
It is weird.
But I'm willing to forgive it,
because like, would she have been able to know what he looked like prior? How would she? There's like questions that it doesn't make total sense to me.
No, like because her vision of him is him like with all these scars, like basically the end scene from the first Scream, but she had never seen that.
Exactly.
So she wouldn't know.
That's why.
If she watched the movie, it would have been David Schwimmer or
no, it wasn't David Schwimmer. It was Luke Wilson.
It was Luke Wilson. She wouldn't be seeing Skeet. But so that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
But I like the concept enough that I'm willing to like write it out. If I don't like, I haven't seen any material for the new one coming out next week. But if Sam is a part of it, I would love to continue to see these Billy hallucinations. So I like while it doesn't make any sense, I think it's cool enough for me to like accept it.
Okay, I appreciate that.
So with that, both of the killers are dead, presumably.
Yeah.
Until Amber, like they always come back, and Sam shoots Richie in the head before.
There ain't no way that girl would have come back.
She came back, with her face melted off.
That was also dumb to me.
Wailing her arms, I think.
Yeah.
And then until Tara, I think, yeah?
Yes. Tara gets her.
Tara gets her because Sam, freed her because she trusted her. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's it. You see the police and journalists start gathering at the house, just like you saw in the first Scream movie, at the same house.
Yep.
And that's the end of the movie.
Yeah, and then you kind of see like Gail turn a new cheek.
Oh yeah.
As always, she always surprises us at the end with something. It's like promising or something that might be like, I don't know. But at this one, obviously they've suffered a huge loss. We've all suffered a huge loss at this point, because Dewey has been an instrumental part of the series. He's very lovable, very doofus kind of character, but very much a himbo, and he's very sweet and kind and caring, and that's why we like him. But in this one, he dies, so Gail is definitely impacted by that. And typically, Gail would like jump at the opportunity to write a new book. She would jump at the opportunity to write a new book about these events that have happened, these tragic events that take place, and like people die. She's quick to do that, and she doesn't. And she said, "I'm gonna take this opportunity to write about a good man," and I loved that.
I loved it too. Like it really like, because she's talking about Dewey, like a man who like lived in the city and all he wanted to do was protect people, and that's how he went out, protecting people, and that I don't think I was very upset when Dewey died, and not upset for the scene, but more like that I won't get to see him anymore. I didn't think like they had to do that at all, but with that decision, I do think this moment at the end of the movie like was made it endearing, where she's like, it is a progressive thing, because she is deciding that this is something that she actually cares about. Like aside from all this, her career or her ambition that we've always seen throughout these movies, she ends out with like this heart full of grief over somebody that she loved.
And Dewey always mentions it in the movies. He's always saying things like, "You were always happiest when you're writing," and he says it in this movie. So it's almost like full circle.
Sweet. Yeah. And that's it. That's Scream 5.
That's Scream 5.
Yeah. So, Jeralyn,
the part that I hate.
we went throughout this whole movie. Mm-hmm. We're now caught up to date, everybody. Oh. This movie also, by the way, was attributed towards Wes Craven.
Sure was.
Because he passed in 2015. And you know, they had a character named after him too, which I thought was very, you know, very sweet.
Very fun.
Yeah. Now we're going to be talking about a few things.
Okay.
We're going to be ranking The Killer, and we're going to be ranking the film series here. Now, I think this one is going to be the most controversial because I think usually Jeralyn and I we're on
par usually
on the same page, but I think it's a little different on this one. Where we might lie, who knows? We're going to see here in a bit. Jeralyn, do you have anything else to mention before we move on to the ranking or anything, or are you ready?
No, but you can follow us on social media. We are on social media on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook. I'm pretty sure it's Fright. Oh, I can't say it. Help.
It's at Fright or Flight Pod.
Yeah.
On all social media.
Or Flight or Fright Flight Pod. So.
Oh, actually, I think it's on at Fright Flight Pod on everything. Yeah. It's the same on everything.
It usually is the same on everything. So it should be at Fright Flight Pod.
Right. There we go.
There we go.
Can you tell, you know, we're starting this out.
We're starting it out.
Yeah. You won't find a lot of content, but we're trying. We're gonna make an effort to put.
We're
some
in the
baby
phase. Yeah. So.
And I appreciate if you follow us so you can see the future stuff that we put out, especially now because Jeralyn, we're all caught up.
We're all caught up
with all the Scream movies.
Yep.
The next one to come out,
Scream 6,
is in March.
Yep.
And so anybody who's been watching with us, feel free to, you know, watch this new one with us in theaters.
We should note that if somebody hasn't seen Scream 5 because it came out in 2022, it is fairly recent. Mm-hmm. That spoilers, we have spoiled so much in this movie. We should make a note of that.
We should start doing a spoiler at the beginning. We haven't done spoiler free pods really. It's kind of like a book club, more like a movie club.
Yeah.
Where like you guys can hang out with us. Like if you guys want to revisit the Scream franchise, watch the first Scream, second Scream, then you can come with us and, you know, have hear the conversation me and Jeralyn are having, and, you know, kind of be the third person there listening along. Mm-hmm. And that's the case with the next one too. If you go out to watch it, you know, we're going to talk about it. We might, I'm not too in favor of this, Jeralyn, do like a short 10 to 15 minute little like our thoughts on the movie without spoiling anything at the beginning of the podcast.
I'm okay with that. I think that might be fun. So it entices people to look it up or want to watch it.
I wouldn't mind doing that, especially since all the movies we've covered so far are like movies that have been released. Yeah. This one's we can't even watch it right now because it still hasn't come out yet.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's crazy.
So feel free to go watch it and then come visit us afterwards. And we'll, you know, if you follow us on social media, you'll be able to see when we post, so you won't miss an episode. But now it's time to move on to our rankings.
I'm not excited for this.
Now, first, we're going to go over The Killer.
Okay. I feel like I wrote it down somewhere, but I don't remember where. So let me make sure.
Okay, yeah. Let's go ahead and go over our current standings and where they lie. So we got Billy Loomis and Stu, followed by Jill Roberts, then Roman, and
Mickey and Mrs.
Loomis as last. Now, this time we're rating Richie and Amber. Now, here I'll give my thoughts first.
Okay.
Now, we're going to have very different thoughts on this, I think, because I'm actually a fan of Richie and Amber. The reason I like him, Richie, I liked throughout the whole movie. I just thought he was endearing and I enjoyed his presence. Amber, you don't get to see much of Amber, but I think the actress gives a great performance. I think she's batshit crazy and she's super fun to watch. So you don't get to see her a lot, but the little that you do get to see her, I really enjoy. That being said, the list, I think obviously Billy and Stu are safe at first place. Second place, I like Jill better. One, because I like that she was, you know, an actual teenager. I enjoyed how fun she was towards the end. She is the only killer that had an aftermath of the party scene where, you know, like she presumably wins, kills Sydney, and then you get to see her this whole other scene with her. I think teen killers are the funnest to watch so far. But I think she beats Amber out in that regard as well, just because we get to see more time with her and her motive made more sense to me. Amber being basically a radicalized killer, is super fascinating to me and realistic. So I actually really appreciate her for that. And so my belief is putting Richie and Amber in third.
Okay. Yeah. Third place.
So I'm thinking third place. Jeralyn, what are your thoughts on these killers?
All right. My thoughts are, I think Richie and Amber had stupid motives. And with stupid motives, I think you're similar to Mickey and Mrs. Loomis. Mrs. Loomis is kind of whatever, but I don't think I don't know. I don't really care either way. But Billy and Stu obviously take the cake because they're the originals. Jill Roberts and Charlie, I forget his last name. I think it's Charlie Walker or something. Jill and Charlie are very fun. They're very fun killers. So I think that, because I wasn't expecting that when I first watched that movie. When I first watched that movie, I was completely shocked. Didn't know who it was going to be. That was just a very fun experience. I'm going to keep them at second. I'm also going to keep Roman at third because I think Roman he had a very good motive. He was a very good motive and it was very sad, but also it was still kind of interesting to have one killer. So I think he by himself doing all of this and orchestrating it how he did was very impressive and I liked it. And then in fourth place, I will put Richie and Amber. Fourth place.
Okay.
Fourth place, I think that their motives were stupid, but they did do a better job than Mickey and Mrs. Loomis. And Mickey and Mrs. Loomis are still last place for me.
Okay. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
So we're
not the worst, but they're not the best either. Yeah. Nowhere near the best for me.
So the only difference is that I think Roman is worse, and you think he's better.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough. Now it's time to move on.
Yeah.
To the movies.
Oh man, this one we might differ on this one too.
Yeah. So this one's fascinating. Our current standings are what, Jeralyn?
Our current standings are Scream, Scream 4, Scream 3, and Scream 2.
Right. Now this one, we're ranking Scream 5. Now, my thoughts on the movie is that this is one of the movies I've enjoyed the least. While I think it's better than most of the other movies, this one's the least campy. It's the least fun. It's the one I'd probably revisit last. Like I'm just not as interested in watching this again as I would be the other ones, mostly because like I said, the other ones are fun. This one isn't very fun. I think they gave a very admirable effort. I think a lot of the stuff that you see in this movie is good, including the acting, the cinematography, the writing, the dialogue. I think it has a lot to say for itself. The attempts are very forward, very, conscious of the past, of the history of current events, being, the whole requel commentary, mentioning Reddit, mentioning all these things that I do think go on right now. I think it's very timely. I don't think they could have done a better job. Like, I think this movie is as good as it can be. That being said, I've enjoyed several of the other films more than I've enjoyed this one.
I agree with you.
So for me, this movie is in third place.
Oh. So
I think it's better than Scream 2. I think it's better than Scream 3. But I don't think it's as good as Scream 4 because that movie's just a lot more fun. And obviously none of these movies pair as well to Scream 1, in my opinion.
Okay. That's very interesting. I really didn't expect you to go there. Okay, so my process here is I enjoyed it the very least out of all of them. The very least. And I'm very critical of that, and I think we've known that. But it's, again, by any stretch of the word, it's not a bad movie at all. I was just not impressed by anything that they brought to the table. I can appreciate some of the things that they did, but I as a really good fan, toxic fandom here, I guess. I just was not impressed. I did not it was very predictable, and it did not feed me what I wanted from the Scream franchise. And I don't know what I expected, but I really had no expectations going into it. So I think I'm going to put it at very last. So my order is Scream, Scream 4, Scream 3, Scream 2, and Scream 2022. Wow.
This is a controversial one, I think.
Yeah, I really appreciate what they did. It just did not hit the mark for me.
Yeah. I wonder what our audience thinks. I wonder, what did you guys enjoy this movie? Is this higher than, are you mad at Jeralyn right now? Are you screaming at
if you're mad at me, you can email us or post or comment on our post.
Yeah, comment on our post, follow us first, and then leave your angry comment.
Yeah, or you can email us at frightorflightpod@gmail.com.
Let us know what you think.
Give us your questions or anything.
Thank you everybody for listening. I think, Jeralyn, this has been our best episode. Yeah.
Really?
A lot of feelings, a lot of controversy. We disagree throughout this podcast. But I think that's the fun of it, isn't it?
It is the fun of it. I think that it's fun to have different opinions. This is the first time that we have actually parted ways on our opinions, so we'll see what happens with Scream 6.
Yeah, it's scary.
I'm really nervous to see what happens. Well, however, there is going to be a big character reveal if you have not watched the trailer.
No, I have not.
I'm really excited to see your reaction. I feel like I want to tell you, but I also want to keep that. I want to keep that secret.
Yeah,
so
I'll be surprised in the movie theater.
He's gonna be so surprised because he has not watched the trailer. I have watched the trailers. I like what I see, but I have no idea how it's going to be executed, just like this one. So,
but I am excited, and I hope you guys are too. Join us next week to hear our thoughts. To join us in the conversation for Scream 6. Thank you for listening, everybody. Stab you later.